Yeah, special edition of the Weege Show. Not really that special. Terrible edition. There will be no walk and talk, as you know, ACL surgery. So I have to do it from my wife's office instead of my nicely decorated with Racer X posters office upstairs. Maybe the decoration isn't exactly my style. Anyway, I got the perfect thing to perk me up, and it's no longer the pain pills because I don't need those anymore. Today we're going to talk to Justin Brayton. I'll hit him up on Zoom. And a lot of things to talk about because this is Brayton's last Monster Energy AMA Supercross race coming up this Saturday at Salt Lake City. Will he race anything else after that? Just have to listen and see. So Brayton, as you know, we have a long relationship. He lives in the same area that I do, so we'd see each other at the airport all the time. I used to go to the JGR shop weekly to get the lowdown, and he was a rider for the team. So we go way back, and it's really actually shocking that he stuck around this long to go to age 38. And to get this many years out of our comedy sideshow of me relentlessly, biasly telling everybody how awesome he was, definitely made it fun the race weekend. So I'll have to find somebody else to root for. You know what? I probably won't. Sometimes you just got to say, this thing worked. Mathis hasn't found his next Tim Ferry yet either. So we'll talk to Justin Brayton about his final race, about his final season, about what comes next. That's our special edition of the Weed Show. We'll also talk to him about the Muck-Off Justin Brayton Shootout, which is a race at Riverside Raceway in Iowa that's coming up next weekend. And I was supposed to go there, but probably can't travel right now. So Davey Coombs is going to go instead. So if you're anywhere near, enjoy the big pro purse, the awesome contingency, a Honda CRF 110 mini bike they're going to give away, and the bench racing session with Brayton, Damon Bradshaw, and Davey on Saturday night at the track. Go to riversideraceway.net or just listen to this show to learn more about it. But shout out to our sponsors. First, Race Tech, we're going to throw in our pre-race show here because they are a big backer of that Justin Brayton Muck-Off Shootout. So Race Tech Gold Valves, you know them. Your suspension will be plusher, better bottoming resistance, more traction, made and engineered in the USA. No supply chain issues. Go to racetech.com right now. And also, of course, our pre-show is always brought to you by the all-new Honda CRF 250R, lighter, faster, and stronger, and still possibly a two-time Supercross champion this year. Jet Lawrence already has one. Hunter Lawrence just keeps fighting. He's not eliminated from title contention yet, although Christian Craig just needs to bring it home to become your champ this weekend for Monster Star Yamaha in Salt Lake City. You already know Eli Tomac has wrapped up the title. I'll give you a little bit of news right here. Tomac is not going to race the finale. We heard about his MCL injury post-race last week. I'll have a video up somewhere, and I got a post on Racer X right now kind of analyzing how and where that knee injury happened in a heat race battle with Jason Anderson. Have to credit Anderson and Tomac for battling in an Atlanta heat race like it was a main. That's very heroic of them, but unfortunately for Eli, it almost wrecked everything. But the MCL will be able to heal on its own. He's in better shape than I am with the torn ACL, and he will be back for Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. But Cooper Webb on DMXS Radio, original and still best moto podcast out there. Cooper Webb just confirmed he's out for Lucas Oil Pro Motocross due to a head injury that he suffered. Remember, he missed one Supercross at midseason. Well, he's had a tough time recovering 100% from that. I don't know if he's racing this weekend either, but he's out for the Nationals. And that was kind of something we heard brewing for a long time. I've been of the mind that Cooper Webb needs a bit of a Cooper Webb reset. And I think this summer is going to be his attempt to do that. And we already know that KTM has Ryan Dungey and Antonio Caroli for the first two races to fill in Webb's spot, and Aaron Plessinger will be back also. And I don't think we've talked about this enough. Ken Roxon has been putting posts on Instagram that he has been testing for outdoors relentlessly with the Honda folks. So Roxon will be back. Dylan Ferrandis will be back. Jeffrey Hurling's, though, not back at all. He's not even going to go back to the MXGP circuit in 2022. The foot injury this year and a previous foot injury that hurt him, I think that was 2 seasons ago, is still a big problem. So he's going to get more surgeries, and you probably won't see Hurlings at a race until 2023. So that's some of the news. Now let's get to Justin Brayton. Thanks to the Honda CRF 250R and Race Tech for backing this lame edition of the Weed Show, except for the fact that we got Justin Brayton. Okay, weirdo version of the Weed Show. The whole goal here was that Justin Brayton and I would be in person in Iowa at the Justin Brayton Shootout. That is not going to happen. I picked the worst time to get hurt. I missed your last race. I missed your race the weekend after to celebrate. Sorry, bro. Sorry.
No, missing the Iowa trip. Missing all kinds of stuff, Weege. But you got to get healthy for the motocross season, where you truly shine and do your best work. So
I know. I mean, same for you. That's really your specialty, that series. You know, we really focus on motocross season here.
That's right.
So we'll get to your last Supercross, so to speak, is this weekend. We'll get to that. But first, talk about this race. You've been doing it for a few years, and it's actually turned into a pretty cool thing. Some decent big names come. You got big money on the line. Just talk about your race coming up in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So I guess I'll go back to the very beginning of growing up in Iowa. Used to race at Riverside Raceway, actually, which Tony Wink owned at the time, and always loved doing his events. And then there was a lot of local races. Like he even put on a race at the state fair. He put on races all over the place. Like there's this Boone, Iowa. They had a ski resort. He put on a race there. Like we just had races all the time. And then also growing up in the Midwest, we had tons of money races. So the day I turned 16, my parents was like, all right, you're in the A class, you've got your license, now go make some money.
Yeah.
And then I obviously, I was pursuing my dream of racing Supercross and Arena Cross, and so moved away. And then I would come back during the summers, and there was nothing going on. I'm like, where'd all the local races go? Tony had sold his the Riverside Raceway at the time, and there just wasn't a lot going on. So he was able to buy it back several years ago, and I'm like, I've got a halfway decent name in local motocross and in Iowa, being from there and doing what I've done over the years. So let's do something together. Let's create something cool. Put our heads together on the contacts that we've made and relationships I've made over the years, and let's bring grassroots racing in local Iowa back. Let's do something cool. And then let's also do a big pro purse. Like that was my first thing, is I'm like, I believe that if you're a really good A rider or local rider, a lot of people follow you, right? You have a friend that races B class, and then his friend races the novice class, and then their dad races plus 40 or whatever. So I'm like, let's create a huge pro purse or big for the area that guys could come back and make some real money. So that's what we've done. Fast forward now, I believe this is a fifth or so year, and Marshall Wellness came the past couple of years and made over $4,000, and full gates of pro guys, and then I've been able to bring guys like Damon Bradshaw and Ryan Dungey, and this year we're having Davey Coombs, and Bradshaw will be back. So yeah, just trying to create something cool. It's fun for me too to go back and reminisce about old times, and also to ride a little bit on a local level and see the new crop of young Midwest kids coming up and get to know them and their families. So yeah, it's been super fun. It's grown more than I had thought, to be quite honest. We've had 700 plus entries. I don't consider myself a promoter at all, but I think it's fun to go back and give back a little bit. And I know if I was a young kid, my parents would have this event circled on our calendar, and I would be looking forward to it. So that's what I want. That's what we've created.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a throwback. Like I remember times, yeah, I guess in your early pro days, like that early 2000s, late 90s, where there were fast dudes that didn't even do Supercross or nationals consistently because they could make a better living with contingency and money races local. And that scene is like gone. So it's kind of a throwback.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be able to race some weeks Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, then race somewhere Sunday. So yeah, a lot of that is gone, but trying to, it's a 2-day event, 3-day, including practice, all kinds of different awards. Every class winner gets an award, gets a tire and raffles and all kinds of stuff, cool trophies. We're giving away a pit bike. Storm Lake Honda, a local sponsor of mine for many, many years. They give away a pit bike every year for a pit bike race. So yeah, try to do something different. And my personal favorite thing is Saturday night we do a dinner and a Q&A. Get up there and tell stories. And your boss, I guess, Davey Coombs, will be there this year. And is there a better storyteller in the sport?
True. Yeah.
I can't wait for that. And to get him and Bradshaw on the stage together, that's going to be incredible.
That's going to be good. Yeah. So I was originally going to go. We were going to do this. It was going to be fun. I got a knee injury, so I can't travel for. That would have been tight. So then Davey's like, I'll do it. Yeah. So I think you might have got an upgrade there. And then the fact that it's Davey and Bradshaw who are like welded together, couldn't have planned it better.
Yeah. So obviously I wanted you to come for a few years now. It's never really worked out. This year it was going to work out. We're all excited about it. You go down and out like us riders do a lot of times with a knee injury.
Yeah.
And so we had to call in a replacement, and we got Davey Coombs. So I'm excited to have him. Obviously bummed that you can't make it, but maybe next year, and who knows, maybe we'll get you both there next year.
There we go. Davey's like, hey, you got to teach me how I do this Weege show video. And I'm like, you turn a camera on and you talk to Bradshaw. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
You'll be
Yeah.
fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll be fine. And one other thing that they put on the website and all that, the dirt
Yeah.
is awesome, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. So nice black dirt. You know, we go to St. Louis Supercross every year,
Yeah.
which most people know. The biggest talking point there is the dirt, right? Oh, it's the perfect dirt,
Mhm.
and this is the best dirt of the season. I've been saying it for years, and most every rider says that. Well, we're only a few hours north, which is about the same dirt. So yeah, super nice, loamy, ruddy. So yeah, like I said, I bring my bike every year, and it's fun for me to get out there and ride a little bit on that dirt.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, you will not officially be retired. Now look, I don't know how we say this. Like you said this is your last season in Monster Energy AMA Supercross. This is the last race of that year. But I think it's safe to assume we'll probably see you racing a dirt bike to some degree at some point. It's not quite the end.
Yeah, you know, and obviously I've been doing it a long time. The closer I've gotten to the end, I talk to a lot of my friends that are, you know, in all different sports and that have retired, and it's hard to stop cold turkey.
Mm.
And for me to be at the highest level for this long, AMA Supercross, this will be my last race in AMA Supercross, which has been my lifelong dream, and so for sure I'm closing that chapter, which is a massive chapter in my life. And you know, I've been able to tick a lot of boxes as far as dreams were made in so many different ways. And so yeah, it's a big turning point for sure. In saying that, I won't be just completely cold turkey. Obviously, I've raced all over the world for a long time, and so who knows? Maybe some Australia, maybe Paris. I did Paris last year. Maybe Geneva comes back. So yeah, I hope to line up again. At what level that is, I'm not exactly sure. But what I do know is the highest level right now, AMA Supercross, um, will definitely be done. And there's a lot of reasons why I'm hanging up the boots, I guess. But the first one is just my family. I mean, we got 3 kids, and to go all in for 17 weeks, pretty much in a row, starts really August or September. So you go from August all the way to May, being super selfish with 3 kids. It just honestly, it just doesn't really work. So, and the work that it takes to truly be competitive, like I want to be, it's so much, and it's just yeah. And I'm 38, right? Father Time is taking over, and could I still do it at a high level? Probably. Do I want to? Not really with my kids and the stage of life we're in, but I hope to line up again for sure, but just not AMA Supercross.
Yeah, so that's the interesting thing because we all knew midway through last year when you had some injuries, we thought you might be done. Then we told the story how you decided to come back. And I feel like when you first decided to come back with Mike Genova, Tony Alessi, and everybody at Moto Concepts, I don't think you first said I'm only coming back for 1 year. It was like, we'll see. And then did it evolve into, yeah, it's just 2022?
No, from pretty much the beginning
Oh,
was
okay.
just one more year. Yeah. You know, Mike Genova, to be completely honest, he was going to be potentially done racing. You know, there was rumors of that going around.
Yep.
I was kind of at my wits end with just how things were going, and you know, me knowing what it takes from a team standpoint, a bike standpoint, the preparation, the crew you need to have to be at a high level. I know what it takes, and where I was at and what I was doing was it wasn't getting there, you know. And so Genova and I have been friends, really good friends for, you know, a long time now, and respect him at the highest level, from team owner to a friend and whatnot. And we're just on the phone one day, really just having a casual chat, and he was like, "Well, you know, I'm here for you. If you ever want to do it, that's the only way I'll be coming back. So if you want to ride one of my bikes again." And I'm like, all right. So then obviously I talked to my wife Paige, and like that would actually be pretty cool to, you know, to at least come back on our terms, I guess, and not be done, not in my career with a crash of a bike malfunction.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, so that's what we did. And so from pretty much the beginning was like, all right, let's do this kind of final tour. But I didn't want to talk about it a lot because it's really hard if you're talking about it in November
Mm.
for me to truly prepare, because I wanted to come back. Like my goal was to get a podium this year, and because I was able to do that last year and go out with a podium, like, man, that guy's still competitive, but you know, he's calling it good. So yeah, so that was kind of how it all started. But I didn't want to talk about it too much, because then you start thinking about coasting through the year and it gets tough.
Well, okay, hey, we got one race to go. So I'm going to knock on some wood here. But I did hear people say once you did start saying that, they're like, oh man, as soon as a guy opens that door and says this will be the end, it usually starts to go sideways. So, hey, we got one race to go. Hopefully it doesn't go sideways. Were you concerned about that? Because we have seen it go bad when someone says the words, farewell tour.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't want to talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
We did start talking about. I was obviously my, you know, family and team and all
Yep.
that new. And then I do think the press release, even signing Motor Concepts, was kind of one final year.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a mindset thing of, it's my final year. I'm just going to coast through it. I don't want to get hurt. And trust me, I've had those thoughts of things like that, but you have to battle that. And that's where I've said, like, all right, I'm going to go out being completely all in. Every practice day is all in. And I think if you have that mindset, and I've done it for 30 years, of riding, and so if something's going to happen, it's going to happen. And I wanted to go out really competitive. That's the only way I know how to do it. I can't limp through it. Even my whole career, I'm like, if I show up at 90%, it's bad things can happen, or I don't feel right about it. So yeah, the season hasn't been great, but to get a top five, to get a bunch of top tens, obviously the field is thinned out now, but still feel like I'm respectable, and went out kind of the way I wanted to go out.
Yeah, it's funny. So you say the season has been great. I mean, yeah, it would have been awesome if you had gotten that podium. But I look at where you're fitting in. It's like there's these 5 or 6 dudes at their peak prime, and you're literally like the guy right after that. Is that not great? Like at 38 years old, like to me, that's a solid send off for that final year. Or is it like as a racer, you're just never going to be 100%
No,
satisfied?
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm happy with it.
Yep.
To be top 10 in points with a shot at eighth overall coming into this weekend in Salt Lake. I think it's fine. I have been a little bit off of that lead group, which guys like Malcolm and Barsha and Marv and like that crew. I'm normally with them. Most of my crew I've been off. Kenny and Tomac, which I feel like there's certain nights where I could match those guys, where there really hasn't been any nights where I've been able to match them. So that to me tells me, okay, like I'm just a little, like I'm that one step off, like if it's football, you're just a tiny bit behind the ball, or so that to me tells me, okay, it's, there's reasons why I believe, which I had a crash early December. I didn't ride for a month coming into the season. Then I got COVID, then I got a concussion. So it's been this long process all year of like just trying to claw my way back. So I've been happy with that next guy, and I'm kind of alone in that group, right? Like it's been weird at some of these races.
Yeah.
I'm, sixth or seventh, just kind of by myself. So that's a little frustrating to not be able to push with those guys at the front. But yeah, it's fine. Being 38 years old, what else can you truly ask for?
Yeah, because you could have got to the point where you're like, dude, he's like Chad's last year and he came in really hurt. We're like, we're gonna get this night. He's not gonna make the main. Like it was getting dicey of going to LCQs. And as you always say, you want to battle the guys you're supposed to battle. Like once you're battling the 18th place guy, no offense to the 18th place guy, like Chad Reed shouldn't be racing for 18th place.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. In my mind, I'm like, you avoided that.
Yeah.
But you just know in your head where you expect to be.
Yeah, totally. Because
Yeah.
we've all been there, right? Chad was there for many, many years.
Yeah.
But you also understand why, like he knows why he was battling for 18th, and you always feel like there's hope of getting healthy and such. But if you come in injured, which he did,
Yep.
and I did this year, it's so hard to get back to that level because you can't really overtrain during the week and just burn yourself out, because then you'll feel the effects of it on the weekend or for a couple weekends. So you kind of just have to manage all the way through, and that's what I feel like I've done. Throw in, business owner, throw in dad of 3, throw in being a husband. Like it's a lot. It's been a lot on my plate. So it'll be nice to cross a couple things off and just be able to focus on a few things. And we've got a big move coming up. We're moving back to Iowa, so there's just a lot happening in our lives, and for me to be selfish and train at the very highest level, because you got to fly to California for several weeks in the off season to prepare, and you got to do all your testing, and the preparation is the part that really takes a lot of time away. And I just got to a point. I remember Bradshaw saying in so many interviews, and he's told me of why he retired early. He didn't want to leave home anymore. And there's a point where I do love to travel. I will say that, but when it's back to back to back to back to back, it gets
Yep.
really really tough. And I like to include my family in a lot of that. We were in California for 7 weeks. We got an Airbnb close to Ken and Courtney in down near San Clemente, and we had a blast, and it was a great send off for kind of wrapping up my last season. And now we've been in Charlotte for the end of it, and head to Salt Lake tomorrow. So happy to wrap it up.
It's funny when riders start having kids, they're very protective over, look, man, it's not going to slow me down. It doesn't change the way I race. I'm just as fast as I've ever been. It's refreshing to hear you admit, like, okay, yes, maybe not on the track. But if you really want to be a good parent, like you could just consider as an investment, I'll spend 100 grand in a nanny and not see my kids so I can do all this. But if
Mhm.
you want to be a good parent, you're kind of saying it is going to probably, one is going to affect the other. Everyone wants to say the right thing, but it's pretty tough to do both at 100%.
Yeah, I don't know if it's possible to do both at
Yeah.
100%. Even I've always felt guilty from the day we had Parker, my oldest daughter, of not being a good dad. And you talk. I've talked to so many people about it, and they say, "Well, you are being a good dad. You're providing." And
Yeah.
I understand that. I've created a great life for my family and kids and such. But I just think it's the small little details, the taking them to school, being a t-ball coach, all the stuff that you think about being as a parent. And this as a parent, like it just goes by so fast. It's crazy. I mean, Parker will be 8 here soon, and got a almost 5-year-old as well, and a 1-year-old. So it just goes so fast. And I think we learned a lot of that through COVID, right, with being home so much, and you know being able to spend more time with them. But I do believe, and my wife and I've talked about this, like traveling is also good because they're so excited to see me when I get home. I'm so excited to see them. I've got a little break. I've got my own thing going on, which is racing. It's just to do it at the very 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 highest level is is really tough. And I had my best year maybe ever in 2018. I had 2 kids, so it's still possible. But did I give up a little bit here and there? Did my training regimen change? Could I be super strict on this or that and diet and making sure I'm at the gym at this time? For sure. But I was able to manage that quite well.
Hey, how much did you learn? Because we know what a hammerhead you were in your earlier days, and we never know how much of that is like you need to be in that kind of shape, or in your head you just think you do. How
Mhm.
much did you learn when you're like, hey, if I miss 7 or 8% of my schedule this week, it actually doesn't matter. Like, did you learn that lesson as time went
Yeah,
on?
yeah, and that's maybe where it helped me was
Yeah.
I was all in 24/7. I think you've probably heard some stories over the years of I came from not much to have this dream, and I was like that, and that was my only choice. Like the other choice was go home and work construction or
Yeah.
go to trade school or whatever, and I did not want to do that. So there was one choice for me, and that was to just grind and grind and grind. And I didn't know what type of work the guys were doing at the highest level. All I knew was I needed to keep working because that's what I feel like I seen them do. So when we did start having kids, it allowed me to fully be all in when I was all in. But then when I was at home and supposed to be chilling, where before I wouldn't be because I'd be thinking about stuff or studying tape or just 24/7, it helped me detach from it. So I was actually able to let my body and mind rest a little bit and just be a dad. So, but then that turns, I think, kids get older, kids get in school. Now we've got 3 kids. I'm older, so it's like, okay, what are you going to do after racing? I've started a dealership a few years ago, and yeah, schedules start to fill up. My daughter's in dance now. Son will be in baseball, and as a parent, it just
Oh, yeah.
starts getting busier and busier. So when they're younger, when they're really young, it's actually really fun because they can travel with you. And we went to Australia for 4 years in a row for 3 months at a time, and those are some of the best days of my life so far. Just amazing, amazing travel stories and times with the kids. But you can't do that when they, you know, first and second grade and such. So it just gets more tough.
Well, yeah, it's the hilarious thing. They have a tighter schedule than we do. Like we we're essentially work from home type people, right? Like our schedule is pretty flexible. They're the ones that have the rigid. They have to
Yeah,
be at school every morning, and baseball practice is this time. And there's nothing
exactly.
you could do to get around it. Let me
Yeah.
ask about the Iowa thing. I don't know if you're ready to say yet. Like, do you have a after racing job plan set up yet? I know you're moving. What's next? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, several things in the works. Obviously, I do want to continue racing a little bit, just to kind of wean off of the
Yeah.
high of the career, right? I don't just want to stop and say, okay, I'm completely done. Um, close to the MCR guys, we'll see what happens there. There's some talks of maybe helping out a little bit with the team. Obviously, some riders have reached out and seeing what my plan is as far as that. I love helping, giving back. Um, yeah, like I said, maybe racing a little bit, but nothing super set in stone. But we are moving back to Iowa. I'll get a track built back there to where I can prepare during the summer and
Okay.
fall months and still ride a little bit. Um, but as far as day to day, I mean, we're just gonna see. We're gonna spend a lot of time with family and um, yeah, just kind of see what falls into place. But I love the sport, love everything about it. Will want to always be somewhat involved in some capacity for probably the rest of my life. I love it that much to where if something made sense and I could truly make an impact in either someone's life or racing career or a team's able ability to compete at a high level, I would love to entertain it and but don't want to jump in anything too quick. Just want to kind of get moved back, get the family settled in, and then we'll take it from there.
Well, the problem you run into is some of those jobs are, if anything, even more demanding on your time than the racing job. So you got to be careful to not just fall right back into an even more ridiculous situation than he is as a
Yeah.
racer.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of the reason why I'm just kind of not saying much, not talking too much about it. I want to finish out um, my career on a high this weekend, and then get the family moved back, and then we'll just kind of see. Like I said, I do enjoy the travel. I do
Yeah.
like that side of it. It's just the weekend after weekend after weekend, and then also the extra time that I've spent in California or traveling and testing, and then also the time away during the day. I mean, we ride 3 or 4 days a week, and that's gone all day. It's an hour, little over an hour drive each way to Club MX for me from my house here in Charlotte, and so there's been a lot of time away. So uh, yeah, get moved back and just kind of see where life takes us.
All right, my last topic here is kind of closing the door on all this. So this was it. This was you rode your last time at a club. First of all,
Yeah,
so many doors are closing. How
yeah,
emotional has some of these experiences been? And you got more this weekend, I'm sure.
yeah. So interesting question, like about that because I've had so many questions. Oh, are you sad? Are you bummed? Are you
Yeah.
this or that? And honestly, like my wife actually asked me that last night before we went to bed of like, how are you feeling and this and that. I'm like, it's kind of both, but more like relief and gratefulness and like just thankful for my time and because trust me, lining up for Supercross with this field for so many years, it's hard. It's so stressful. It's day after day, week after week, juggling different things and injuries and all that. So that side, a little bit of relief of like, man, that. But then also, right next to relief is just thankful for what I've been able to do and accomplish. And look, I'm not a 10-time champion by any means, um, but I did it. I grew up different, did it different than most, and was able to achieve more than most. And that's what I'm most proud of is to sit back. I'm totally content and fine to not race another Supercross and to be able to have the life we have. And so yeah, for sure, I'm sure there'll be some probably some tears shed this weekend. But like being at club yesterday, um, just thankful for everybody. I've met so many amazing people, trained with so many good riders, and rode so many amazing tracks there that I'm just thankful because look, everything comes to an end, right? And I'm just thankful that I've said this through all of it is I most things end because they go bad. And I'm just happy this hasn't went bad and then it has to end. I'm happy it's ending on a good note. And that's where all my kind of gratitude and just being so thankful for the journey, that's where all that comes in. So not much sad times, just more like happy and thankful and like, man, this has been such a cool ride.
Yeah, and to really finish that off, like, so I'm sure when you're making the tough decision last year, should I race again or not? Okay, I'm sure you would have liked to had a top five, instead of a sixth one weekend, or a third instead of a seventh, or whatever. But essentially, what you accomplished this year is what you were dreaming this last 6, 7 months would be, right?
Mhm.
You did this went the way you planned it. Not, I probably shouldn't have done this one more year.
Yeah, and I knew that because last season I started the year with a sixth and a third,
Yeah,
and I believe a ninth or tenth at the third round, and I was like fourth in points leaving Houston. So obviously I still had it. My preparation was good.
yeah,
So and then I had a few bike malfunctions, and that's what ultimately got me hurt. And I struggled with that. I struggled with, ending on that note, knowing I was that good at 37 years old, still being able to stand on the podium. And I was riding with Ken a lot then in California, and my speed was good. And so yeah, so that's why I knew this year wasn't going to just be a total flop. I
yeah.
knew that I still had the mental space and like the drive to do it, right? Because our body can pretty much do anything at well into way later than 38,
Okay.
so it was more so just my mindset.
Yep.
And my wife always says, if you're all in, she's all in to support it. But if we're 80% in, let's get out. And I knew that I could go all in one more time. Um, you know, could I do it another year? I don't know, maybe, but I don't really want to find out. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, to go out like this, to be top 10 in the series, I think it's a solid way to end it. Yeah.
Yeah, but look, there's always weirdo racing luck. Like, the decision didn't come overnight. Like, I'm sure you're weighing pros and cons. It turned out to be a lot of pros. I'm sure it wasn't a guarantee. It looks great now,
Sure.
but I'm sure there were some sleepless nights of like, should I do this? What if it went bad? And it didn't go bad.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, trust me, there were so many sleepless nights, and
Yeah.
we spent all summer last year in at our Iowa place. And yeah, I mean, it took me several months to decide. I was getting phone calls, and even after talking to Genova, like, what do you think? Have you decided? And he was super patient with me. And I
Yeah.
had to work through it because, look, our brain works a certain way. And when you have bike malfunctions, like that was ingrained in my brain of like, okay, like I can control what I'm doing on the track. I can't control that. And if that happens off of a triple again or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I talked to a sports psychologist I met in Australia years ago, still talk to him all the time. And you just have to work through it and reprogram our brain a little bit and know that I've done it for 30 plus years. And that really, that's happened less than a handful of times. So you kind of got to weigh the odds at that point.
All right. So it won't be that emotional. It's like a perfect full circle from where you came from to where you ended up. This weekend, you'll be a happy guy. And for sure, it sounds like not like, am I leaving anything on the table? Seems like you're content, happy, not that sad. It's almost perfect.
Yeah, totally happy. I
Yeah.
think the biggest thing this weekend that'll be emotional is just having all my family there. Got a lot of friends that I grew up with that had impacted my career from the time I was on 80s all the way till today. So that'll be fun having everybody there because I don't think everyone, my whole career, not all those core people have been at one race together. We've got a nice Airbnb in Park City that we're all going to be staying at. So that's going to be the fun part. And who knows? Like I've had a dream to be on the podium at the final round of my final race. And I told that to Genova like over a month ago when I was coming back from a concussion. I'm like, all right, I don't care about these next races. I just want to get on the podium at Salt Lake. We'll see if that'll happen. I'm going to shoot for it. I'm going to go out swinging. But that would sure be a cool story to end it that way.
Yeah, that would. But what that shows, if you have that kind of not goal, but thought in the back of your mind, you have not been coasting then these last 4 or 5 weeks. Like, you're
No.
still gunning for it.
Yeah. And you have to, right? You have to look at, am I in tip top shape? No. Could I pull it out of the bag for one night for 20 minutes? Probably.
Mhm.
So that's where I'm at now. Like, yeah, I've left some on the table with training and that side of it, but yeah, I still think I'm capable for one night. Yeah,
And finales they're just weird in general. Weird stuff happens all the time.
for sure. Yeah, I've had
Yeah,
I won Steel City last moto of the year several years
that's
ago.
right.
Shouldn't have been winning motos. Yeah, I've had a lot of good last races. So
That's right.
Zacho pulled one out a few years ago, last race in Salt Lake. So who knows? Maybe we'll match that and get one. But either way, if we go out with a good result would be awesome.
Okay. Well, it's been a good ride. It's not really over. I guess that's really what it comes down to. It's not like I wish I was at Salt Lake. I wish I was at the shootout there the next weekend, but I have a feeling you're going to be around quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah,
Cool.
that's the plan. So,
All right. Congrats on it, JB. Thanks
cool.
for the time.
Thanks, Weege.
Good luck.
Appreciate it, man.
Yep.
Later.